All right, let's just dive right in. We're in this pretty incredible moment with AI, right? I mean, it seriously feels like everything is changing all at once. You've got to love this quote from Andre Karpathy. I just see stuff, say stuff, run stuff, and copy paste stuff, and it mostly works. That's what he calls vibe coding. And it's so perfect that Collins Dictionary just named it the 2025 Word of the Year. It really captures this new reality where AI is becoming, a creative partner you just talk to. But this new power, it's way bigger than just a new way to code. It is fundamentally reshaping our world on three very distinct fronts. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First up, AI gets a real job. Then we'll look at how innovation is meeting a backlash. After that, the big one, the race for AI supremacy. And we'll wrap it all up with a look at the hype, the hacking, and some really hard questions. All right, first up, AI gets a real job. We're talking about the shift from AI being this cool experimental thing to it becoming a real operational part of how businesses work. And get this, these numbers you're seeing, they aren't just pie-in-the-sky projections. These are actual, real-world results from a big project in the telecom industry. We're talking about a 50 to 70% drop in billing calls, operating costs down 15%, even a 5% revenue uplift. I mean, come on, that's a business case that any CFO is going to love. But, and this is a huge but, there's a catch. Experts from places like Bain and IMD are basically screaming from the rooftops. You can't just bolt AI onto your old clunky processes and expect magic. The real win, the real transformation, comes from redesigning the work itself to be agent first. If you don't, you're going to get stuck in what they call pilot purgatory, forever testing, never really getting anywhere. Okay, so that leads us right into our second front. Innovation meets a backlash. This is what happens when this brand new world-changing tech slams right into our old rules and legal systems. It's messy. And this case is a perfect example of that clash. You've got Getty Images on one side saying, hey, you trained your AI on our copyrighted photos, so the entire model is an infringement. But then Stability AI comes back and says, whoa, hold on. The model's weights aren't copies of images. They're just math. They're patterns. And you know what? A UK court actually agreed with them in a pretty landmark decision. They said the weights themselves aren't infringing copies. So now you have to look at every single image the AI spits out, one by one, to see if it's an infringement. Big difference. And at the very same time, the old platform wars are firing back up. You have Amazon suing Perplexity, basically accusing their shopping agents of sneaking around their website, breaking the rules. Perplexity's defense is fascinating. They're saying this is a threat to user choice. People should be allowed to send an AI agent to do stuff for them online. It really boils down to this huge question. Who gets to control how AI interacts with the internet? Is it the platforms, or is it us? And look, this fight isn't just happening in courtrooms between giant companies. It's getting deeply personal, and it's raising some really urgent questions about safety. I mean, just read this quote about Tesla's Grok chatbot. It's pretty shocking, and it highlights these very real fears about what happens when kids interact with edgier chatbots that have weaker safeguards. This isn't just a one-off thing either. We just saw Common Sense Media rate OpenAI's video generator, Sora, as an unacceptable risk for teens. So the concern is absolutely real. And all of this, it brings us to our third front, the race for AI supremacy. This is the global high-stakes arms race to build and, maybe more importantly, control the very foundation of AI, the infrastructure, the hardware, and the rules of the road for everyone else. I mean, the amount of money being thrown around here is just staggering. Look at Google. Their cloud revenue for a quarter is a massive $15 billion, but their planned spending on new infrastructure for 1 year, $93 billion. That's more than 6 times their quarterly revenue, just poured into capital expenses. And it's pretty much all going to new hardware, like their new Ironwood's TPU chips, just to stay in the game. It's unbelievable. So yeah, this spending is fueling a global arms race. And here's the thing. While the West is still debating and arguing over policy, countries like China are already moving. They're rolling out a comprehensive AI Safety Governance Framework 2.0. They're not waiting for problems to happen and then reacting. They're trying to build safety in from the very beginning, from fundamental research all the way down to making sure the infrastructure can't be taken down. It's a very different approach. At the same time, you've got this incredibly complex web of alliances forming. It's creating some really strange bedfellows. I mean, think about it. You've got Apple, Google's biggest rival in mobile, paying them $1 billion a year just to power up Siri. Then you've got Anthropic, a major competitor, securing 1 million of Google's chips to build their models, while also being backed by Microsoft, who holds a huge stake in them. It's this world of co-opetition, right? Where everyone is both a partner and a competitor at the same time. Today's friend could be tomorrow's biggest threat. So with all this money flying around, all these legal battles, this global race, what's actually happening on the ground? Well, that brings us to our final section: hype, hacking, and some very hard questions. It's time to separate the reality from the risk. Let's start with this number, -$1 trillion. That's how much market value was wiped off the books of major AI stocks in a single rough week. You can call it valuation fatigue. Investors are starting to get nervous and are asking, are these companies really worth that much? And that skepticism, it's being fueled by a pretty big gap between the money being spent and the results being delivered. Check this out. Forrester research found that only 15% of companies, just 15%, are actually seeing their earnings go up because of their AI investments. That means for 85% of them, the return on investment just isn't there yet. That's a huge disconnect. So this brings us to the billion-dollar question, or I guess the trillion-dollar question. Is this all just a massive hype bubble waiting to pop, or is this something different? Is it just a necessary, maybe even healthy market correction while we all figure out what actually works and what's just, well, hype? But the risks here aren't just financial. It's not just about market bubbles. There's a whole other category of risk opening up on the technical side, on the security side. Researchers have found a brand new type of attack, and it's got a pretty wild name, a consecutive accident takeover. And what's scary is that it exploits the very thing that makes these new AI models so powerful, their ability to reason. Okay, so here's how this smarter, softer attack works, and it's pretty clever. It turns out that making an AI smarter by teaching it to think step by step, well, that can actually make it more vulnerable. It's a total paradox. An attacker gives the model a complex task, but they hide harmful instructions deep inside that chain of reasoning. The AI's final safety check looks at the final answer and says, yep, looks good, but it completely misses the malicious stuff that happened in the middle. And the success rate for this kind of attack, it can jump from around 27% to over 80%. That's a huge vulnerability. So, let's pull this all together. What we're seeing is a genuine revolution happening on 3 fronts, all at the same time. It's happening in our workplaces, it's happening in our courtrooms, and it's happening in the global race for dominance. This has moved way beyond just being about cool tech. This is about power. It's about control. And the question is no longer if AI is going to change the world. We know it will. The real question now is, who's going to write the rules? And where do you fit into all of this?